what we did digitally come to life physically and also digitally. So never had that happen before. I think that is awesome.
We designed that. We designed that. Like, there's something about a brick and mortar store with the big logo that we helped design.
Obviously, startups care. I guess one of the things that comes to mind is really fast delivery, right?
Building this team of really, really great designers, but more so, great people. What are we doing with AI? What are we doing about AI?
When are the robots coming?
When are the robots coming? Are we all out of a job? Like, all of this stuff. And there is no way of knowing for sure. Mony, what's up, man? Good to see you.
What's going on, other side of the world?
Other side of the world. You're currently in where?
Bulgaria. So probably not well known, but right above Greece, right next to Turkey, right next to Romania. So kind of Eastern Europe, but not too far east. I like to think of it as like the middle ground where everything is just chill. Everyone just likes to eat, drink, and have a good time. There's no conflict, no issues.
Eat, drink, have a good time, live in a nice, quiet village. Life is good.
Yep. But I'll be back stateside. Yeah, man. Yeah, it's important. The small things count. But you're going where on Sunday?
I'll be in London on Sunday for a few days, then popping over to Portugal. Shout out to Alina. We're going to be able to meet Alina, one of our amazing designers, for the first time. I haven't met, like, Mony and I have, I mean, you and I have met twice now, 3 times now.
Twice, yeah.
We have a team of 17 and we haven't met any of them in person yet. That's the beauty of being globally distributed, and we don't care where you live in the world, just as long as you're an amazing designer and do great work for us. But there is something to say about, like, this anticipation of, like, meeting Alina for the first time. It makes me so happy. It makes me so, like, I'm so excited to be able to meet some of the team for the first time. So
I'm pretty jealous. I mean, I hope later on, as we continue to grow and as we continue to mature, I hope we can figure out some sort of team building meeting point that we can all, or at least people that are, closer to one area that we can, most of us at least, meet at, because I think that would be so cool. I've also never met anyone for that record, just Tristan. So be more than excited to pop over and meet 5, 6, 10 even out of the 17 people. Yeah.
Spring studio retreat.
Yeah. I mean, maybe it's Portugal. Maybe you fall in love with Portugal. Alina's there, one down. So, and I'm kind of around the corner. Usually Portugal's like a 2-hour flight. I'd be able to make it no problem. Maybe it's
Let's do it. For the record, we're putting it on the record right now. We need to make this happen.
Yeah, putting it out there. I agree. I mean, I guess talking about growth, what was that moment like for you when you realized that you wanted to start Spring Studio? And I think that's like a twofold question, because Spring Studio started originally as a development and design agency, or design and development agency. And then we pivoted to design. So there was 2 moments. One moment was that initial moment where we were like, oh, maybe we should do this. And then the other moment was, okay, wait a second, check this idea out. We should probably pivot to this.
Yeah. I mean, it's a great question. Like, for those unfamiliar with my story, like, I've always been a builder. I've always been an entrepreneur. I was the 12-year-old skateboarder that linked up with my skateboarding buddies. I realized very quickly that I was no good and that I wasn't going to be good. But everybody I skated with was amazing. So I'm like, my natural instinct after that was to build the skate company to support the skaters that I was hanging out with. So I built the skate company, created the t-shirts, and sponsored these other skaters. And I say sponsored, it's a very loose term. Like, I was, again, 12, 13 years old, but I made t-shirts and hoodies and skate videos, and we sold all of those. And I think that was my first real glimpse into what entrepreneurship can be. And it's more than just like, oh, fun lemonade stand and that's that.
Right.
Like, I really tried to build, like, a community around these skaters. Like, you might have this idea of what a group of skaters might be, like punks, like jerks, assholes, whatever. And we were the opposite of that. We were just a bunch of nice kids who just enjoyed skating, and, like, we just wanted to go out and skate and, like, be respectful still. which is kind of, again, goes counter to
Not the
what I
norm.
think.
Yeah.
Not the norm. So we built a little community around this idea, and it took off, and it, we did pretty well. And then ever since then, I mean, it's just, I got the bug, like the entrepreneurship bug, and went and did a bunch of other stuff. But when you and I linked up, I was a freelance designer and doing product design, specifically product design. And you and I linked up. We worked on Madeley's version 1, or Madeley's MVP, and stayed in touch after that. And I think it was something you said after our engagement, after the product design was finished. It was something like, can you help with marketing? Can you help with logo? Can you help with all of these other areas of design? And me, coming from a product design background, like, I don't do that, right? Like, product design is kind of its own lane. And that's where I was. I didn't do any graphic design. I didn't do any marketing design. So there was a need from your side. Like, I want to keep working with this guy. And I'm over here saying, like, sorry, dude, like, I can't help with that. And I think that may have been the first little seed into design as a subscription, design as a service. Like, how can we build a company that provides an entire team of specialists, not just a bunch of generalists, but an entire team of specialists for the startups like Madeley, or like RootNote, or like Cateo, like all of these companies that we're currently working with? How can we be that on-demand team for them? And I think we started there, but then also, like, thought, let's offer development services. Let's, like, be the whole package, the whole team. And it wasn't until we had a couple projects under our belt, and we're like, okay, this is going okay, but you know where we really shine? Like, where we do the best work is on the design side. Let's focus on that. Let's niche all the way down, just focus on design, and do it better than anybody. How can we do it affordably? How can we provide an entire team to these startups that need design, but don't have the budget for a full-time design team or a full-time designer that they bring in-house? So it wasn't until then where we're like, okay, well, how do we actually build this thing? Like, how do we actually do it? I think there's this idea of, like, wanting to jump on the rocket ship right away and watch it take off in, like, a couple months. And it wasn't until we got, like, one or two clients where we're like, okay, one or two clients now,
Possible. Yep.
it's possible. The idea is validated. Like, people actually need this. There is value here for these companies that have a little bit of budget, but don't have the full budget to hire an entire team or hire a really expensive designer in-house. Also, I don't know about you, but, like, when you were building Madeley, your design needs fluctuated and changed month to month. It was like 1 month heavy product design work, the next month no product work, but maybe marketing work, and then the third month nothing, right? It's like, let me just get this stuff done and then
As we
start,
see. Yeah.
and then we'll
Yeah.
see, and then we'll come back to it, and maybe do some more work down the line. So, like, the fluctuating needs of startups, I think, was a big focus for us. We're like, how do we create this team? How do we create this business that's sustainable and that's good, but also, again, is just, like, super, super mindful of the ebbs and flows of startups, the design needs shifting and changing from startups. So being able to pause the subscription was one of those, like, no brainers for us. We're like, we don't want to be locked in for 6 months or 12 months. It's like, no, it's just
like
a month
Netflix.
commitment.
It's okay.
Just
Yep.
the Netflix of
It's
design.
not scary. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I think
Yeah.
for me, when that point came where I was like, okay, cool, I want to continue working with this guy, because I had never been through this process. So I'd never worked with a designer. I never created a platform, but I fell in love with the process. I just loved bringing something to life visually, because obviously the first step in this process is the visual step. Before that, it doesn't exist. And when you brought it to life for me, I was like, wow, this is awesome. So of course I pursued and wanted to, see if, we could work together and create other stuff. And that wasn't your specialty, which was fine. But as time went on, I really wanted to find a way to work together, continue, I guess, bringing up the same feeling that I got for Madeley, but continue to do it together for other people. That's what happened in my mind. And so I was trying to figure out, like what exists out there. I don't know at that point if there were too many design as a subscription agencies, but generally speaking, there were, design agencies and development agencies and all kinds of agencies that, do this sort of work plus marketing efforts and whatever. And that was my driving force. And I just remember that vividly just because I thought what we did was so cool and so important. I mean, not just like, it wasn't just cool and fun. It had a huge impact on my own business. Without this process, I wouldn't have been able to successfully launch. It wouldn't have been as well received as it was because for whatever reason, coincidentally, and I wasn't that informed back then, but for whatever reason, I decided to choose UI, UX, or just design first. I placed that first before building any product. And because of that, I felt like it, contributed significantly to Mately and the growth. I just wanted for us to do the same for other people. That was kind of like what I remember feeling. And then, yeah, we pivoted and you can I guess, attach that to evolution and like how the business evolved, how the vision evolved. I mean, those were really clear steps of pivoting. Like, okay, a lot of startups also need development work, right? I would have needed development work. So do many other clients that we have currently and that we've had previously. So it made sense to try it out, see if we can do it. We saw that we weren't as talented in that department as we are in design. And of course, you double down and focus on what you are good at, and then you scale from there. And I think that was a pretty big, significant pivot that at that point in my mind, in the sense of like design as a subscription, so like as a subscription service, was very new. And so to me, it was like, oh my God, how do we navigate this industry? Like, where are the customers? What type of customers do we attract? How do we, quantify the value that we bring? Because I felt it, I just didn't know how to quantify it. It's not the same as some sales number or some marketing platform that can increase your, visitors depending on the ads that they create for you or whatever the case is for an agency like that. So in my mind, that was a pretty big challenge initially. It was like, okay, well, it's so hard to quantify the value for this, or at the time, I have more experience now. At the time, that's what I was thinking. And I wasn't too sure where and how our customer base exists exactly, like a perfect customer profile. So that was probably a fear.
Yeah, that's super fair. I mean, it's one of those things where it's almost like I don't think it was quite a leap of faith because we looked at each other and
Yeah.
we're like, are we solving each other's problems here?
Yeah.
And the answer was yes. The answer was hell yes. It was like you with Mately had this issue of, gosh, do I have to cobble together a bunch of contractors now to get branding work done, to get marketing work done, to get UI UX work done? It's like that is, I think, the pain a lot of startups feel is, gosh, I have to go out and find a branding designer. I have to go out and find a marketing designer. And then I have to get them all working together. And that is so difficult working from the same. I mean, you can lay it all out. You work from the same brand guidelines, you've got your style guide, but then you deal with like the inner workings of now your new cobbled together team, making sure they
Management.
all work together, managing
Yep.
them. It's all of that stuff. So we
Yeah.
looked at that as like a serious pain point that a lot of startups feel. And we're like, how do we build a solution for that? And design as a subscription was like the natural solution in my mind. And in 25 client, like we've worked with hundreds, but we're currently, I don't know, working with like 25 clients, and they're like, this is solving a big
It's
problem.
validated. It's
This is
validated.
validated for sure,
Yeah.
for sure.
Initially, it was scary because it's different. I still feel like it's a niche industry. There's still a lot of growth in the industry. I don't think in our niche specifically, not in the tech industry, and in the niche that we're involved in, I think there's a lot of room for growth. And it's new. And back then, it was so new to me that was the challenge that I was facing in my head. Like, okay, I love it. I believe. Are like, what does everyone else think? And where can I find those other people that are like minded? I think I faced that, and I grappled with that. And I think it was up until we got, the first one or two or three customers. And at that point, things become validated because they're like, oh my God, this is it. This is what I want. Obviously, startups care. I guess one of the things that comes to mind is really fast delivery, right? Someone may have been dealing with the contractor. Contractor's dealing with 10 other customers, super fast delivery, a little difficult when you're dealing with 10 other customers. Agencies, same thing, right? So that sort of solution that we provided that got them excited, then validates what we're providing, I think was the point in time where I was like, okay, like this is it. I overcame that challenge in my head.
I mean, and I always go back to the big three is what I like to refer to them as. Startups care about three things. Startups care when it comes to design, at least. Startups care about three things, and this is just from experience. They care about quality. We want quality design. Like if you're coming to us, you're looking for quality design. If you're coming to any design agency or any designer, like you're not going into it thinking like, mediocre's fine. Like
Yeah,
like you're not
I'll
thinking
take
that way.
subpar. Like,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's fine. Not a big deal. Quality has to be there. The second thing I think either comes close second or maybe it's the most important is speed. Like you just said, like every startup that we've worked with cares about shipping quickly. They've got the roadmap. They don't want design to be the bottleneck. They've got their engineering team. The engineering team's ready. They need those designs in order to build. They need those designs. So design should not be the bottleneck. So the quality, the speed, and then the last one that I think is again a close third, but might be two, might be one for a lot of our customers is reliability. Like, are you having to hunt down that contractor that you've been working with for 6 months and they have gone dark? And you're like, what is going on? But that contractor, like I empathize with freelancers. That contractor is over here juggling 10 other clients and trying their best to get good work done quickly for all these startups. But sometimes that reliability, like sometimes there's reliability issues.
and communication, and yeah, and I think that's a good point because I was going to say it's not there's nothing wrong with contractors and agencies in general. They're just the nature of what it takes to actually execute, and that capacity just doesn't necessarily equate to being able to turn something around in a day for all clients that we have, or being able to have this dynamic communication. We're available all the time in Slack. We're basically, I mean, I know we say this all the time. We're basically an extension of each client's team. We're their extended design team. The only way you're able to pull that off is in the capacity that we work and not necessarily in this other capacity. But there's nothing wrong with contractors or agencies. It's just different different client base,
Hmm.
fits in
Different
different
needs.
places. Yeah,
Yeah,
different needs. Yeah.
different
So
needs. And I love that this is not a pie, right? And there's a finite or there's a finite amount of slices of the pie. Like that's not how we're thinking about this. There is no pie. There is room for every sort of solution. Our solution being an on-demand design team is one potential solution. You mentioned freelancers, another amazing solution for a lot of companies. And then a full service agency that's going to go through and like it might be a slightly different experience. They might go away for a week or two and come back with something to show. Again, that's a great solution for some companies, but we're trying to do things our way. And I love what we're doing. And I think all of our clients seem to love what we're doing. The idea is validated. We're solving a real problem. Like that's all I care about.
one of the most rewarding aspects, and we just talked about it to me, is actually one of our clients who has a physical space and who we provided physical materials for in addition to digital, that then we had the pleasure, or you particularly have the pleasure since they're closer to you than they are to me, to actually see what we did digitally come to life physically and also digitally. So never had that happen before. I think that is awesome. And in terms of just thinking about like rewarding, or what's the most rewarding aspect of this, or what do I feel as a reward doing this, is stuff like that, right? That's someone that came, that had a vision. Doesn't matter their situation necessarily, but they're people. They have visions. They have drive. They want to build something. And in that case, it was twofold, digital and physical. And we had this huge impact on that. And we brought something to the real world, like actual existing world. I think that is so cool. Like that, I can't even imagine how they felt.
Shout out Pack Animals,
Yeah, there we go.
packanimals.com.
Yeah.
They've got their digital presence, they have an app, but they also have this physical space that is 5 minutes away from me. It's like kind of a coincidence that it worked out this way, but their physical space is 5 minutes away. It's this hybrid dog park, indoor dog park slash co-working space. It's really interesting. They do amazing work for the community and for the people who have dogs and maybe want a little bit extra socialization for the dogs, but also training. They do all sorts of awesome stuff at this place. And when you look around, you're like, oh my God, we designed that. We designed that. Like we designed, like it was
Yes,
so cool seeing it
that's so cool.
in the physical space, which is again, like, I think it's just because we mainly work in the digital space where this is a little novel to us. Like this is a little different. This is a little exciting. Like we've designed plenty of print materials and brochures and booth backdrops and like all sorts of stuff that end up in the physical space. But there's something about a brick and mortar store with the big logo that we
Right.
helped
Yeah.
design, knowing that that's not going away anytime soon, knowing how important it is to get that right was one of those like challenging moments for us. But at the same time, we're like, you know, shout out to Maria who led the design efforts on the Pack Animals brand. Like she absolutely crushed it. She was the shepherd that kind of walked them through the process and came up with this amazing brand identity that is going to be around for a long time. It's
Long
not like
time. Yeah.
they're not about to swap it out anytime soon. So it was really important that we got it right. And I think we did. I mean, it looks so good. Looks great.
Yeah, I should have clarified. I meant like the fact that it's a physical building because, doing print and doing T-shirts and booths and stuff is amazing too. But the physicality of a building it was very, very different. So I think that goes back to how I felt initially. And that's the kind of reward that I feel each time we sync up with the client and they're like, they praise us with positivity and say all these really, really nice things about us. That's that feeling. That's the reward for me is getting to replicate what I felt a while back when we worked together initially, and then we obviously embarked on this journey to try to, in my mind, replicate that and make others feel as happy and validated about their ideas as I felt. That's what's rewarding for me. It's been amazing each and every time.
I think there's two parts of this sort of what has been the most rewarding. And I guess I'll just like piggyback off of your question, which is like, what is the most rewarding part of running this thing and doing what we're doing at Spring Studio? Like, I'll take the other end of it. Like you focused on the clients and the
I know.
output.
Yeah. Yep.
I'm taking the other
The
side and
company.
saying building the team,
Yep.
building this team and having somebody come to me and be like, I'm looking to buy a house and you're going to help me pay for it. like that is the most rewarding thing in the world. It's like, I pay your salary and you're about to buy a house. Like that is, it just fills it heart, your heart grows 3 sizes or whatever. It's just so fantastic. And not only have that on that side, like using the money to buy things that are meaningful, but also building this team of really, really great designers, but more so great people. Like these are great people. It's one of those things that we look for in the early stages of the hiring process is like, sure, your profile, like your portfolio tells me a lot. You're probably a good designer. You can probably execute at a high level. That's one part of the job. Another part of the job, and equally important in my view, is are you a good person? Are you a good person that's going to not only get along with the rest of the team, but add a lot of good positivity to the team and to the clients? You're going to be working directly with clients. Like we need
Yep.
good people. So
That's
I
a
mean, I think
rarity.
that's probably the most rewarding part for me is like helping people buy houses and putting together a bunch of really, really great people to do great work.
No, I mean starting a team and going from one to 17 and just being there along the way, and there's choices you make for people and good fits, and then suddenly it's not such a good fit as you thought, and then things happen. That's incredibly rewarding too, right? Because you're essentially putting together bits and pieces of the formula that make up the whole, that then produces the output that then changes other people's, our clients' lives, or brings their visions to life. So it's piece by piece it equals up the whole puzzle, and I think that's as equally rewarding too. And yeah, you're right, like having people from the team come to us and ask or tell us what they're doing or what's going on in their life, and knowing that part of their life, like something like home buying, is such a personal experience, such an important experience in everyone's lives, obviously. I think that's also invaluable, and just knowing you contributed to that, or you're the reason that's part of the reason why that's happening, is pretty special as a company, as an employer. Probably things you don't usually think about when you start doing these things, but I think that's fantastic.
I agree. I'd love to hear from your perspective, maybe one of those early challenges. Like we talked a little bit about us pivoting from being a full service shop to just doing design. But like, can you recall maybe a significant challenge either during that pivot or around that pivot, around that time that we decided to pivot, that made you question whether or not we could pull it off? Like, I know we kind of talked about this.
Yeah, I mean, no, I'll be straight up. Where do we get customers from? Like that was the most difficult and challenging aspect of this. It's not, whether it's too niche or too new, it doesn't matter. It is what it is. Where in this case, finding the right customer was really difficult. You can think of other businesses, like let's say cleaning businesses. It's something I'm familiar, or even restaurants, right? You can assume that if you're a restaurant, your customers are going to be looking on Yelp. Okay, so you need to be on Yelp to find customers. You'd be paying for that. There's certain flows that from the customer journey and finding the business that you can just introduce yourself in, and eventually customers just run into you. The introduction and you being in that flow and positioning yourself right is hard. It's not like it's easy, but in this case, because our customer base is CEOs, founders, startup owners, people that are CEOs of companies, startup founders, they've just raised, they have hundreds of things going on. They're, hiring employees, they're juggling 1,000 things. It's hard to get their attention. It's hard to go in front of them because they're not necessarily searching for design agencies. They're searching for designers. They're getting recommended teams. So they're already, have someone they're talking with or talking to. They don't exist in one place necessarily. They exist in what we now know many places at once. And that initially was very difficult. Where do you go to create something, or how do you create that outreach? Or it could be in a place like, let's say, LinkedIn. We didn't know back then, but where do you go to actually get your first customer from? And then how do you replicate it over and over? Because you can get one customer, two customers, three customers. It's good. We talked about it. It kind of validates it. And maybe now thinking back on it, I guess it does. But at the time, it's still like, okay, well, we're still not sure where the customer base exists and how to actively get them whenever we want them. And so it's not necessarily validated because all two of them could disappear immediately. And that puts you in a really bad position because now you got a third left. And I think that was scary until you realize that the sales cycle is different. This is a different industry, different niche. The outreach campaigns are different. They may be a little slower. The customer interaction, there's interactions, but they're not turning into customers. Not today, at least. But later they do, right? So you start realizing these things and how working in this space actually happens. And the fact that there are people a little bit here, a little bit there, maybe a little bit over there, but overall, your customers are right there, and you're able to realize, what are some of the things that you can do to obviously attract them, and you do it, and you try to rinse and repeat. And then when you do it enough, you suddenly, you went from 3 to 15, right? And at that point, you feel good about it. But initially, before that, yeah, it was a little scary. You're trying, you're not getting anything. You're trying this, you're trying that. Should you try this longer before you give up? Or should you stop now and, do this method of, sales method or, marketing effort or whatever you wanted to do? You just don't know.
Outreach and like cold outreach specifically. I just finished. We just had the founder of Talently, Daniel, on the pod, and he was talking about how he didn't find the success he was expecting with his cold outreach until the 29th campaign that he ran.
29, you're right. Yeah, I can,
29th
I vibe with
campaign.
that. Yeah.
He just kept trying one thing after another, after another, after another. He would see some success here, some success there. And what he said that really resonated with me is he kept having to ask himself, what does my buyer care about? How can I position this solution? Like sales is literally solving problems and creating a solution around a pain point. His tip was, I need to think like a buyer. I need to think like whoever's going to receive this email or receive this cold DM. Like, why are they interested? Why are they going to click on it? And it wasn't until like 28, 29 times where he's like finally starting to figure it out, finally starting to see some success. It's a long game.
I totally vibe with that. I think that's that's what I meant initially, right? Like maybe it's different industries, different businesses. I'm not sure how it is for absolutely every business out there, but when you're going through the other 28 times, before you hit that 29th time, you really have to believe in what you're doing, because it's not easy putting an effort and getting a zero in
We're
the end.
solving problems for customers. As long as there's value, as long as we're not snake oil salesmen or anything like that, like we're truly looking for like, and again, this goes back to what we were saying before. Our solution, Spring Studio's solution, is not for every company, and that is okay. And that is okay. Some companies need a freelancer, some companies need a big agency. That's okay. But most companies that we work with, like I am so proud of the work that we do on a regular basis, especially when, and knock on wood here, but everybody seems happy. Right? It's like our clients seem happy. We are solving a real pain for them and we're doing it at a high level, and that we are hyper obsessed with continuing to solve that pain. And so far, so good. So far, so good.
It's a rarity in professional services because you're dealing with people, obviously, and people can be tough sometimes. So that is, I think that's just a testament to the team, to the work, to the output that they have, to the approach, and to our clients too. Because obviously, they're amazing to work with, and I think we've done a pretty good job vetting and not necessarily engaging with ones that maybe have preferred an agency or a contractor, freelancer directly instead of engaging with us, which wouldn't be a good fit and ultimately would lead to unhappy customers. I think it's very, very awesome space to be in and very particular niche with a lot of awesome and great potential in the future or for the future, which I guess kind of leads me to a question for you, because obviously you're a designer, but how do you see the role of design evolving in the or over the next few years?
It is a question that we get asked a lot. I'm not about to look at my 8 ball and try to predict the future or anything like that. What I can do as somebody who's running a design shop, like, need to be aware of this stuff. I think the first thing that comes to mind when somebody asks that question is, what are we doing with AI? What are we
I was going to
doing
say,
about
when
AI?
are the robots coming?
And when are the robots coming? Are we all out of a job? Like all of this
Yeah.
stuff. And there is no way of knowing for sure. I don't know. What I can do and what I do know for certain is right now, there is this human element to really, really good design work that AI might be able to replicate at like 80%. I think the final 20% that requires real intention and thought and exploration, that's where the human designers, that's where the designers that do this all day, every day, come in and find ways to get to that end goal. The human touch, I think, is so, so important and so critical in what we do, that I don't see it going away anytime soon. I think there is a space for AI to help some companies with design. I am not blind to that fact. Like, I know for a fact that AI is going to help a ton of companies and probably has already helped a ton of companies with their design efforts, whether it is on the product side doing UI UX work. Like, there's a couple startups right now that are building tools that leverage AI that can mock up an app for you pretty quickly. The same thing on the website side, same thing on the marketing side. Like, it's coming, it's getting there. Like, the quality still isn't quite there yet. There's plenty of artifacts. It's really, really difficult to make minor adjustments to these images that are produced. So if you do want to make some changes, like, it's pretty difficult to get those minor changes that you're looking for. But that being said, we're still in the first inning of this game. Like, there's still a lot of room to go, and like there's a good chance that it's just gonna, I mean, it's gonna keep getting better and better and better. One of my favorite quotes, I've been paying close attention to this whole AI thing, and one of my favorite quotes, somebody said is, this is the worst it's ever gonna be. This is the worst it's
This is
ever
the
gonna
worst.
be. And if you think about it that way, you're like, oh,
Oh, yeah,
right,
I see.
this
Yeah.
is the worst. Like, next week
Yep.
it's going to get better. next month it's going to get even better. Next year it's going to be unrecognizable because of how
Yep.
much better it's going to be. So like we're getting there. Like AI will play a role in design. And how I'm thinking about it for our team is AI can help with the initial exploration and the initial concepts, the initial ideas, right? It can help us get to that 80% in some cases, in some use cases. But taking the final 20 is really where humans are going to be required to move it across the finish line. So
I agree. I mean, couldn't agree more. I think I should have just outwardly asked, how do you think AI is going to impact design in the future? Because ultimately, it's about AI right now, and I think that makes perfect sense. I agree. I couldn't paint a better picture. Whether it's 80 or 90% there, I think that's totally fair. But that last bit, I don't think you're going to get it. Like you said, those minor adjustments at the end, when it's been so complex to get to 90%, are going to just be a nightmare to make. But at the same time, I don't even think with minor adjustments by, changing your input, whatever your direction is, I don't think you get there to 100% without someone intervening, or the person doing it just says, you know what, I'll take 90%. That's cool.
yeah. Well, and I think there's also something to say about taste. Like taste plays a huge, just a massive role in good design. And I'm not sure what this looks like in the future, but AI is trained on stuff and trained on existing stuff. So if it's trained on stuff that, is good, like great, how do you take it a step further and introduce that, again, that taste that, all the designers that we have at Spring Studio like come with? Most really great designers, one of their major qualities is they have good taste. They know what good design looks like. They know what good design feels like. And assuming AI is going to have that same good taste, we'll see.
I kind of see like place that in like this creativity box. It's just like the creativity you can't. I'm not sure like if AI can't really do that. It's programmed. It's logic based and logic driven to an extent. Maybe I'm like super far off, but to me, just slightly two different things that maybe this logic component, this AI component can get pretty close to nailing things, but maybe the 10 or 20% just comes from that creative human mind that we have that can actually take it from here and go all the way here. Whereas I was going to say the robot AI stays here because this is where it's at. This is the logic. This is the max. This is all it can pull from. It's not able to creatively make that next leap or go to that next level. And I know that, hopefully as long as we're around, we're always going to be pushing boundaries. So I think that's a lot better of a conversation because it doesn't go all the way to the left or to the right or whatever, where everyone's going to lose their jobs. There's no designers, like everything's just going to be AI based, like some of the other articles and conversations I've had about AI and its impact.
Well, with any new tech, yeah, and I feel like this is kind of a talking point that everybody is starting to hear, but like with every new technology, there will be an augmentation of jobs. Some jobs will be streamlined and AI is going to take care of it. Other jobs will be created because of AI. So like there's just going to be a shift. It's just going to be a shift, like with any technology, any new technology, there's going to be a shift.
So where are we seeing Spring Studio in 5 years? Are we just going to be like one giant AI driven company, and it just won't be
Right.
designers, or it won't be you and I in a center? It'll be AI in a center, and then maybe it'll be alternatively you and I in a center, but just AI designers for all of our clients.
I don't think so. I
No, I
think
don't think so either.
what we're starting to see is the pendulum swing back towards bespoke craft, like good design work, intentional design work. And again, AI is going to help with some stuff, and it's going to help some companies do amazing work. And when I say AI, I'm just talking about on the design side. We use AI every single day for other stuff, right? Like every single day. What Spring Studio look like in 5 years? I typically don't like thinking that far out because of how many things change so quickly. What I will say though is the team that we have built and the company that we are building, in my view, is very sustainable and very exciting. Whether we introduce new product offerings and new services like on-demand development, like that could be something that we decide to do in the future. I think it all goes back to like, how do we best serve our core customers? And our core customers right now happen to be startups. How do we find more creative ways and more ways to best serve those people. Now, that being said, there's entire cohorts, entire groups of companies at various stages that are maybe outside that startup box. So who knows? Maybe in 3 years we decide, to introduce enterprise and are that sort of design arm for enterprises. Not sure, but all I know is we're 17 people and we're moving really fast, and things change so fast that in 6 months it might look a lot different than it does now. I'm along for the ride, and I'm super super excited to help get us there.
Yeah, I'll just say rock solid foundation, growth. I can't predict or say anything else about the rest of the stuff because at the end of the day, you're right. Everything moves and fluctuates so much that in 6 months, 1 year, things are so vastly different. Whether in 6 months we have on-demand development, or in 1 year we have an enterprise subscription, and we're serving Microsoft, Sony, and Apple's. Can't say, I don't know about that, but what I do know is rock solid foundation, growth.
Well said. All right, man. This has been good chat. As always. As always. We just
As
recorded this
always,
one. We just
you're
recorded
in the
this one.
U.S. I'm in Europe soon. Wait, well, you'll be in Europe. Wait, if you leave 2 weeks from now, when do you get back? Wait, sorry. If you're going now, you come
Yeah.
back
Yeah.
before September 12th, right?
Yeah, we are back on the 7th of September.
Oh, I
So
got it. Okay.
everybody listening to this is probably listening to it on the 5th of September. So I'm in Europe. Moni's still in
Same.
Europe, but is on his way back. Yeah.
So
All
there's
right,
no
man.
crossover.
Yeah. Good stuff.
Always a
Good
pleasure.
stuff. Always a pleasure.
Till the next one.